What you know, but who you know can make all the difference in your career search, business, relationships, and life. Take a deep dive into the growth mindset it takes to persevere in seemingly hopeless situations as our unbelievable hosts and guests share with you how they've overcome failure to reach success and specific strategies they use to transform and dominate in their respective fields. On this episode of the Who You Know Show, Serah D'Laine.
Everybody's checking everybody else on social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. So whether you know it or not, everybody has a personal brand.
We have some amazing guests coming up, but first, let me introduce you to the executive producer and your host, Trevor Houston. Growing up in extreme poverty with a disabled single mother, Trevor's childhood started off on the wrong path when he got involved with several criminal roommates who lived inside of his broken home. As a teenager, Trevor had already been in and out of juvenile detention facilities and was facing 5 years in jail before being forced to move to his father's home at the age of 16. Here, his father presented him with a fresh start. He taught Trevor how to work hard, earn and save money, cultivating Trevor's entrepreneurial spirit and second chance at life. Today, Trevor is a successful entrepreneur with multiple businesses and is on a mission to help others overcome rejection, failure, and hopelessness so they can break through barriers and reach their ultimate potential. Now let me introduce your co-host. Mark Elder was born in South Korea, left on an orphanage doorstep, and adopted at 5 months old into the United States, where he later served as a medic in the Air Force. He loves serving hands-on, helping to educate, coach, and organize job networking events that make a difference in their communities. Separately and independently of the Who You Know Show, Mark is a licensed financial professional and president of his own organization. Foster Williams is the founder of SearchForYouInc.com. That powers the career search network with over 31 years of global talent acquisition expertise. Today, Foster leads and facilitates multiple job seeker networking organizations all over the USA. Let's go to this week's Executive Spotlight. Each week, we'll be interviewing the top entrepreneurs and executives and companies, sharing their personal playbook to success and the lessons they've learned along the way. Serah D'Laine is the creator of Profitable Personal Brand Academy, helping coaches and entrepreneurs elevate their online presence. Plus, the Self-Aligned Leadership Strategy is a series of techniques to help break through personal limitations.
If I can get a warm Who You Know welcome for Serah D'Laine.
What a fun show.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I've been on the edge of my seat like all day, and just amazing speakers, amazing information. You guys are getting awesome value.
This is
This is great.
Well, I'm super excited you're here. So Amberly Lago introduced us.
I was gonna say I'm here because of Who You Know. So it's
Yeah.
really like Who You Know.
Yeah.
And so I want to know about your journey, your story, because from Hollywood, right? Like you've been on a lot of films, like Wild Things, American Pie 2,
God.
Mermaids,
Please don't
Roswell.
Please
Like
don't
you've
do
been
that.
in a lot of stuff. Like you talk about, we were just talking about TV, right? Like you're on the TV. So you went from
I did
Hollywood.
my career backwards.
You did it backwards.
Everybody's like trying to get into more of like whatever status. I'm like, okay, I've been there. Now let me like mess that up and then start over from the beginning and build something on my own. I do a lot of things backwards.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, tell us about the
It starts with
story.
a vision and then you work it backwards.
Well, talk to us about it. Well, tell me about Hollywood, right? And why you got into transformational leadership.
Right. How
What led you there?
massive bridge over to that. So yes, I started at 13. So really, really young. Child star, if you will. I mean, doing the whole lifestyle that most people are like, celebrity parties and red carpets and all the things that are like glitz and glamour. It is not what it is cracked up to be. Let me just tell you.
Yep.
And because of just the scene, the industry, I mean, that's networking. You got to be a personal brand. You have to get your own work. You have to go without work for a long time. Madeline was even talking about how, really wanting feedback. Like ask for feedback. We want feedback. Like, that is a big thing in the industry. Like, after a audition or something, you're like, what could I have done differently? So it's a completely different world.
Do they give you feedback?
No, not always.
No?
No. Sometimes they're like, we just went another direction.
Or if they do, if they do,
They're like,
are they like,
"Thank
are
you."
they harsh? Are they like, what's the guy from American Idol? Simon Cowell. Are they like him?
No, it's not.
They-
no,
no,
that's
okay.
a little dramatic. That's TV.
TV,
That's
well,
TV.
you know.
It's
Yeah.
dramatic.
Okay.
But no, it is. It feels a little bit like, I don't want to say it feels like ghosting, but you don't always get the feedback. You don't always get to know how to adjust yourself to make yourself better. And you have an agent in between, so you're always like calling. You're like, okay, like what could I have done? And they're like, just wasn't the right look. And then you take it upon yourself, right? Because that's now it's rejection on you or how you performed as a character. So there's a lot of rejection. You'll be rejected 3 times a day, 3 or 4.
Well, I want to talk about that.
Okay.
All right. So
You wanted to know how I got into
'cause our
transformational
audience
leadership.
Gets rejected. Our audience gets rejected 3 times a day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens. The job seekers are applying online and they're getting those canned emails. So talk to us about rejection. How do you overcome rejection? How do you overcome that feeling of like imposter syndrome or whatever? Like, you know, you
all
just
those
feel
labels
empty. You know
that
what
nobody,
I mean?
Yeah. We don't like labels, do we? Nobody wants to be like, yeah, I got imposter syndrome. One of the biggest things, and now I teach this to my clients because, yes, there's imposter syndrome, but I actually think, and I'll say it this way, so follow for a second, because I do a lot of the internal work, right? So there's personal branding, there's personal development. So in the personal development, like getting out of your own way, getting out of your head, imposter syndrome, I look at it this way, it's a resistance to the version of you that you would ideally need to become for whatever that level of success is. So if you act like the highest version of you, the best version of you, the most authentic version of you, right? I call it your identity of success. Sometimes it's your future self, right? Like I start playing with the different parts of your personality are like characters. And some of them are either in alignment together. Some of them are either like on the same team, or maybe you've got like Patricia and she's a perfectionist. And then maybe you've got like Debbie Downer, right? Like on the bad days. And if they're arguing, it's like 2 kids in the back seat and they're like not on the same team for your level of success that you want to get to. And it's also not something, because there's that whole principle of like fake it till you make it, like get out of imposter syndrome. I do not agree with that.
No.
Completely do not agree with that. For this point exactly, if you're going to tap into a version of you, everybody's heard for every next level, you're going to need to be a new version of yourself or find or discover that version of yourself. Anybody heard that? So it's not something you fabricate. You don't go shopping for your future self. You don't go shopping for your like identity of success.
Yeah, like who do I want to be today?
You're going to find it somewhere within. So it always comes from an authentic place. It is not something that's fake. It's not something that's falsified.
Right.
It is something that you are tapping into deep within, and then you are embodying it. An actor's job, if you will, is not to act. Their job is to embody an authentic characteristic, an authentic personality. So if you tap into playing that game, thank you. That was dramatic. You're getting. He wants to be on a soap opera too. Very dramatic.
Well, it was kind of like the solo clap, you know, the clap that's like,
You're like,
Yeah.
I had to help him out. I had to help him out.
I love it.
I appreciate that help.
well, I've got a question about that
Yeah.
because so you've got Hollywood, you've got rejection, constant rejection, you've got zero feedback, you've got all of the mental health issues that go along with that, right? So
This is
what
why
are
I got
some of-
into transformational leadership.
Exactly, right? Because when you don't get feedback, you start to have self-doubt, right? In self-worth issues.
No, not at all.
You can.
Not at all.
So
I've never experienced that one bit.
And maybe some of the other people that you've seen be most successful at overcoming that. Like,
Yeah.
what have you done to address that, or how did you overcome it?
I dove into personal development, like head first. But I was also going through a really deep spiritual experience in my life, a really deep journey. There was a lot of things that I was not doing in Hollywood that I shouldn't have been doing in Hollywood, right? So I got into a lot of got into a lot of things. I mean, you start young. I was running through a lot of personal stuff that, personal healing that I hadn't yet addressed for a long time. I was using characters to escape. But on one level, that had me not really know who the authentic version of me was. And so I suffered because of that, got into a lot of drugs and alcohol, did all of that. I don't recommend that as a life lesson. There's many other ways to learn lessons in life than to go that direct and then almost die. It's just, it's not a good plan. But that put me on, talk about a calling and really shifting your calling. I woke up to really recognizing that I wasn't in touch with an authentic version of me. And I didn't know what that was. And that scared the out of me. The other thing that was happening is the industry changed. So actors, directors, writers, everybody went on strike. I couldn't get hired. Yeah. It was a massive time in the entertainment industry. And any industry will go through shifts, as we all well know, even the last couple of years. So I'm sitting here now. I've started at 13. I've been rejected, right? So you get used to that to a certain extent. It gets numb. So to answer your question, you're like, okay, you have to just find how it's not you, and you just show up and you do better. Okay. You just show up and you're like, okay, let's do better. But also at that time, I couldn't get hired. Nobody, it was offer only. It was like, you send in your resume and they're like, we already have an offer, but we're going to take your resume anyway. That's just, so imagine
that's
that.
That's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Like, we already hired this person, but you can
but
go ahead and apply.
But when things are happening, you can't hate on it. When things are happening in an industry, everybody's trying to hedge their bets with making money and doing things that's going to be best for an industry. That all being said, I had started so young that I also tested out of high school at 15. So I didn't go to college. So I didn't have traditional education. I had life skills. I knew I had a personal brand. I knew how to connect with people. I knew how to build relationships. I knew how to be a brand. I knew I was the product.
Well, let's go into that. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, because you are a personal brand expert.
Oh, thank you.
You talk about a personal brand is not a maybe, but it's a must for success.
Now especially, yeah.
Yeah, well, talk to us about that.
Everybody went digital the last couple years.
Yeah.
So not only that, everybody's checking everybody else on social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. So whether you know it or not, everybody has a personal brand. I just like to identify, are you doing things and strategizing in a way that would make your personal brand profitable?
So are you just like posting about cats, or are you like,
That could work for you if you're selling something for cats.
But no, I see
don't
a lot
hate
of people,
on anybody's dream. Just what are you?
Well, I talk about that too because we see with these job seekers sometimes. If I was a hiring manager and I'm looking at two candidates and they both have
Are you checking their social media?
That's right. And then I go to one and I see nothing and I see pictures of cats or whatever it is. And then I go to the other and it's like they're telling me the problem they solve, who they solve it for, why they're the expert, why they're the authority in that space, they're the expert. Like, I'm going to go, oh, okay. That's an easy choice.
It's an easy choice, and it's also because we also got into a little bit of the space of everybody on social media, and then there's false things and fake things and fabricated lifestyle, right, and all of that stuff. Exactly. So that being said, the key that I want to just make sure, and this goes to whether you're going in for a job interview or whether you're posting something on social media, the most important thing is to be your authentic self. And who was talking about having self-awareness as being one, I don't know if that was Madeline, but right, so that is having self-awareness of who you are is step one in even just the full transformation of just really knowing yourself. It's also phase one in when I do my profitable personal brand. It's really understanding your persona. Who are you? Who are you truly? What do you care about? What do you want to talk about that you're passionate about? Put that on social media. Educate people or share or inspire somebody with something that means a lot to you, and then make it look good. because then just brand it, make it look nice.
Well, okay. On that note, okay.
Branding's not all visual, but let's just.
Well,
let's
okay.
just say that's
So
a big
like
part of it.
Instagram is your like highlight reel, like it's all picture perfect and this kind of stuff.
I built my business on Instagram.
But when you're saying
100%.
authentic, right? I'm hearing that word. Life is not an Instagram reel. So what do you think people should do? Do you recommend only put the good, or should I because I had a day the other day, y'all, I'm not even gonna I put some personal stuff out there, right? And that's just me. I put it out there. What is your recommendation on that? Do you think people should show the full picture or just give you the highlight reel?
That's such a good point.
It's a good
because
point.
we all, everybody wants to feel like, oh, this is my highlight reel. I have a lot of highlight reels, and I have a lot of stuff that I did messed up.
Low light reels.
I go low light.
Low
That's
light
good.
reels.
We got highlight reels and we got low light reels. So here's the difference, though.
Mic drop from Foster. There you go. That's good.
If you have a low light reel, well, everybody's got one, right? But if you want to share your low light reel, the key is then don't share it mid low light, because that's just not what you're in the experience. You have no awareness. You're in it. You have no awareness of like 2020 being hindsight. Like you have no understanding of what's the lesson in this. How did this benefit me? How could this benefit somebody else? Right? We all want to give support or anything to somebody else. You can't give support if you're in the middle of it. So share your low light reel, share the experience, share the lessons that you learned after you came out on the other side. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm crying and show how I'm vulnerable.
Yeah.
You can be vulnerable and share an experience authentically with like it,
I want to add to that. Okay, I want to add to that. So one of the things that I think people should do is when they're having an emotional moment, when something's, maybe they're angry, maybe they're sad, whatever's going on in their world, they're having this moment, okay? I do think it's important, pull that camera out. Pull that camera out and capture it, okay? Now, that doesn't mean you got to post it, okay? So to your point.
But I want to say something with
Okay,
that.
go ahead.
Because if you're in a moment with yourself,
Yep.
and you're taking a hot second to be like, oh my God, let me shoot this. This is a great moment. Then you may miss the moment of your lesson for yourself.
Yeah.
Just, so be in it. Be okay with being in it. Then break the camera out.
Then break the camera out, okay?
Like you're
Or maybe
still in
journal
it.
about it,
Or
right?
journal about it. But
Yeah.
I mean, and this is such an actor thing too, because whenever we would have a crying moment, you're like, oh my God, this is so good. Let me log this in my crying so the next scene that I can actually tap in and use it. So I get what you're saying, but then you're pulling yourself out of the experience. You just are.
Okay. Here comes the job father out of me.
Yeah, let me hear it from Foster.
Let's see what-
Now, you guys hear me talk all the time. My number one word is relationship.
Ooh,
Now-
can we talk about that?
What we're talking about right now, that brand, well, you will have an affinity. A lot of people will come to you. A lot of those people you can see that maybe God brought some of these people to you, right? So I like the way you talk about relationships, kind of like being a dating situation. So
Yes.
Explain that to us.
So, and this will go perfect with even networking, right? Because anybody that's like, I don't know how you feel about networking. How do you feel about dating? Even if you're in a relationship, right? I could get a lot of people in trouble right now. I look at it like this. Marketing, whether you are marketing yourself, your product, whatever, on social media, locally, or if you're marketing yourself to go into a job, whatever that is, marketing is like dating. Branding, your brand, your personal brand, or your product brand, the tool for that, that is about building trust. So that's how marketing and branding are different. Sales, buying is intimacy.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Which part?
You said buying is intimacy.
Yes. I say it a little bit differently, but maybe not camera appropriate.
Understood.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Go ahead, be authentic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we've just
I
come
lost
out
my
of
sensor a long time.
we've just come out of Mental Health Awareness Month, right?
Yes, we did.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your self-mastery and your leadership formula?
Yeah.
Right? How that works. and
So
what it
I
is.
call it the self-aligned leadership strategy. They're a series of techniques or behavioral shifting techniques, if you will. So it's all rooted in, I mean, you're gonna make me nerd out, like NLP and hypnosis and all the like expert speak stuff. But what it really is, to me, is really going through these series of transformational techniques. If there is something, if you can look at yourself authentically and be like, okay, maybe this I need to change, or maybe I do have, maybe you're okay with saying, I've got perfectionitis, right? Or perfectionitis. I call mine Patricia. I love her. I adore her.
got a name.
I name them. She's needed. She is my level of excellence. When she starts acting up, I'm like, okay, girl, like you got to sit down because this is like we're not being productive.
That's my sister's name, Patricia.
I'm so
That makes sense. Yeah.
So first, it's identifying the parts of you, the ones that you like, the ones that maybe are in an argument with the other ones that would lead you to your success. So it's really going through self-awareness, self-acceptance. That's where you get to have compassion on yourself. You get to love yourself, all the parts, the shadow, the light, all of those parts. And then you get to be in alignment. And the alignment piece is, what are those strategies? What are those techniques that I need to continuously do that will put my behaviors, my mind, my emotional state, my spiritual state, if you will, everything to be in alignment with that future version of you, that highest self, that best, most authentic self that has the dreams that you do and wants to achieve them. Whatever version of that it is for you, tap into that. And then realize the gap that's in between. So all we're doing is a series so that we can actually shift the conscious and the subconscious so then it becomes natural. So that then procrastination, perfectionism, all those things are a small conversation rather than something you have to like fight through.
Yes. Okay.
So
And
that's in the transformational leadership sort of techniques.
in your program leads people through that process then?
Yes. So after doing thousands of sessions, I recognized a certain pattern that each person was experiencing at every certain level. So once I just started tracking those patterns, like I'm not good at math, but I'll do things backwards. So I'm like, where do you want to be? And then seeing all the patterns that they were experiencing. And so I just naturally, knowing the techniques and the education, the certifications that I have, I would implement these very specific strategized techniques. And then it would just shift them.
Well, I like what you said, because you said the backwards, right? That's like reverse engineering it, right?
Yes.
You want to, if this is your goal, right? It may seem like it's a mountain. How am I going to get there, right? But working backwards, it really does work. Yeah. Done that so many times.
When I was in, so I homeschooled myself at 15 before I tested out of high school.
Wow.
I was working.
Yeah.
Right? But I didn't have a teacher, so I didn't have the answer book of any problems. So I got the answer book, and some of you might be like, ooh, okay, she could have cheated there, but I didn't. I'd like to have a little integrity. So I used the answer book, and I had to take what the answer was and then work the actual problem backwards to then understand the formula. So if we put those same principles to ourselves, what is your dream? What is your goal? What is the answer that you want to achieve? Work those problems backwards and then understand whatever 1 + 2 + 5 × 3 divided by 6, whatever you got to do to get to that answer, then that's how our minds work. We're not as complicated, but we just kind of get ourselves in our own way. And then when we don't have that clarity and we don't have that awareness and we don't have the tools, like nobody's really like, thank you.
We get in our own way.
We get in our own way. So I look at it as I needed tools for myself. That was my first mission. I wanted to get out of my own way.
So you built this system, this whole thing for yourself.
I learned, and then I
Okay.
found the system. And then out of that, the other thing that I knew that I had was a personal brand. And then social media was only just popping off. Like I think YouTube was still mean, 2010, like,
Oh,
yeah.
it was still a little bit like
Building, yeah.
just building. And I'm like, I can't get hired. I don't know how to do anything else. I know personal branding. I know psychology. I know emotional mastery. I understand people and relationships. But I also still took myself through, I started a business in 2011, and then I took myself through seminars, coaches, mentors, anybody that I could find that understood actual business, branding, marketing, anything I could get my hands on. I became seminar junkie. I was just like, give it to me. NLP, personal development. So I just combined everything. And I did a lot of work around relationships for a long time. And so shifting that into everybody's like, you built a business. Can you show us how to do that? And I was like, well, it's pretty much just the same thing. Marketing is dating. Branding is trust. And sales.
Yeah,
Buying
sales.
is
Sales.
intimacy.
Yeah, sales. Sales.
We'll leave sales be.
All right.
I'll tell you after the show.
Yeah, tell me, Sarah.
So the 3 P's, you have this thing called the 3 P's of a profitable personal
Yes,
brand.
because
Talk to us-
everybody has one, but are you strategizing to
Right.
make it profitable?
Leveraging, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
tracking
you're
with
right.
you on
Everybody's
that
got a brand. How do you make it profitable? Number one, but tell us the 3 P's.
Persona, presence, profitability. So your persona, again, I'm going to geek out because I get really into like Jungian archetypes, but more specifically his 4 primary archetypes, which is your persona, the animus, anima, like all of that nerdy stuff. So it's really understanding self. I'm not going to get too like complicated with it, but it's like know yourself, have such self-awareness and self-mastery. Learn the skills for you that nothing will get in your way, or if it does, you've got the skill. It's like going to the gym. You're like, okay, I'm going to continuously go to the gym. I'm going to build these muscles, but you have the solutions to get yourself there. That's in persona. So really understanding self. Presence is the external. That's the like fun, what everybody thinks is branding, the fashion and the colors and the pretty stuff, but it's your message, it's your story. It's how are you presenting yourself to the world on social media, in a job interview, on LinkedIn, like wherever it is. Whatever you have a desire to put out into the world, how are you doing that fits all the congruent strategies for you achieving what it is that you want to achieve? And then the final one is profitability. So what does that look like? Are you selling a brand? Are you selling a product? Do you want to just get hired? Not just, but like, do you want to up level into a job? Like, what is that profitability that you're looking to achieve?
I love that. That's a lot. I mean, there were so many mic drops in there. I don't know where to begin.
3 P's.
That's
It's only
a lot.
entrepreneurship and success. That's all we're talking.
That's it. So you also have a podcast.
Yes.
Talk to us about your podcast and what do you think, well, actually, who do you think would be one of your most inspirational interviews that you've had so far?
So because I only started the podcast a couple months ago, so I've been our dear friend Amberly Lago. She was
Amberly.
on, so she'll be on soon.
Amberly.
Amazing.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Lead Like Her, and the principle is to really, the her is the highest version of females who want to really step into those levels of leadership, right? So who is that highest version for you, right? So I'm big on supporting female leaders. I love working with everyone, but it's definitely like a soft spot in me because, right? Women, we still need to balance out how many female leaders are really supported in the entrepreneurial world as well as in the career and corporate structures. So that's a big passion of mine. And here, because I moved here about a year ago, still feels like yesterday. So we're doing networking events, putting those together as well. But who else would be? I mean, it's women who honor and appreciate collaboration over competition. That's a big conversation that we are very much still in alignment with shifting that conversation for women.
Hold on. So you're saying there's like, there's a little head button going on instead of lifting each other up. Is that what you're saying?
Do you have that as men?
Okay.
I think we all do.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah.
It's just, where are we shifting? So if we're talking about relationships, where are we going to shift the relationships to being collaborative over competition? If you are super clear on your personal brand, which by definition, is identifying how you are uniquely an expert in what you do, whatever that is. However you do that. That doesn't always mean the skills that you learned, but you are a unique individual. So that, by definition, makes you completely, like, there's no competition for you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well,
So-
I think there's a difference too between, you know, when you're talking about competition, competition can be a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron, but it doesn't need to be crabs in a bucket where you pull, you know, the crabs in a bucket pulling each other down.
Yes.
That does not need to be competition.
Well, we're talking about anything on a polarizing scale.
Yeah.
Anything that's too much is not always a good thing. Anything that's not good is not.
Like I think of sports, you know, and competition, and I think, you know, hey, they're going against the other team, and you know, there's a healthy competition where people, you know, like I said, iron sharpens iron. But then I've seen it the other way too, where it's like cutthroat, you know, just straight cutthroat. Anything and everything I can do to tear this person down and get to the top.
Politics.
Right?
Politics.
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 Ooh.
I mean,
Crabs in a bucket.
crabs in a
Even,
bucket.
even Hollywood.
I-
to a certain
Ooh.
I wasn't gonna say it, but
Yeah.
we all said it.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about that, is because, you know, it's an environment, it's an industry that doesn't always support women coming together. It's like, it's the most cutthroat, competitive
Yeah.
industry in the world.
Right.
So you get to choose which side you want to be on, what type of person that you want to be. But I think that goes across any industry. You get to choose how you get a job. You get to choose what kind of job, the people that you want to work with. That again goes back to relationships. So maybe we should date a little longer and determine like what is truly of quality for us. Who do we really want to be surrounding ourselves with, and what does that look like? It's always relationships. We have literally relationships with everything.
That's
So-
it. That's why this show, it's all about who you know. It's all about relationships, connecting,
And how you brand yourself.
and how you brand yourself. You're absolutely right. So you're all about transformational leadership. So does anybody here in the audience want to maybe transform? There's a higher version that you're trying to go.
Or
someplace-
shift their personal brand. Anything on social media or anything on their LinkedIn, anything like external as well. I just want to
All right, I got a hand over here. So if we can get this guy the mic, I'd like to hear from, tell us your name, if you would. Stan, tell us your name.
Buddy.
I'm Buddy Bolin.
What
Buddy,
is it?
Yes, Buddy Bolin.
Buddy Ballin, nice to
Yes.
meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
tell us where you're trying to go. You said you want to transform. That next
man.
level, that next best success.
I'm definitely trying to get to the next level of myself, the better version of myself from where I've been in my life and in my career, and what can make me a better person, what can give me the things in my life to make me happy, you know, to make me feel
What's
like
his
I'm not
name?
alone in a room.
What's his name?
Whose name?
The highest version of you. Your future self.
It's Buddy.
Is Buddy?
It's Buddy.
Okay. And I'm not saying that it's anything different than you.
No, I understand.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So what is then the version of you now that is wanting to shift into?
I think I've held myself back a lot. You know, I'm stuck in the corporate world. You know, I have things that I want to do, things that I want to see, you know, a person myself that I want to be, but I feel like I'm stuck because I have things that I have to do. You know, I have a family to take care of, you know, I have a house to take care of, and if I go off just doing what I want to do, all of those things are going to be gone.
So that sentence right there is what's keeping you from doing that.
Yeah.
Because those are real.
Yeah.
Those are real things. Those are tangible. Like, I have
Absolutely.
family, I have kids, I have people, I have responsibilities.
Yes.
And that will get into the voice of your head of like, well, you have responsibilities, so you should stay here continuously doing exactly what
Absolutely,
you do.
and I do.
Yeah. And what if there was an and? What if you could do that and?
And I do.
Okay.
And I do.
Great.
I absolutely do. And,
Awesome.
and I'm trying to do more of it. And I just feel like though that I get to a point where you get to an impasse and you hit a wall and you're just like, how do I get through that wall? How do I get through that wall? You know, how do I do more of it? Or how do I just
Sarah, I have an
really
idea.
break that shell?
I just want to break down the wall like right now.
I know. She just wants to shatter that wall. But here's what we're gonna do. So you want to give away a 90-minute personal brand. You call it a breakthrough call, right? We're gonna break those walls down, right?
Perfect match.
Buddy, can we give you the buddy? Is that what we're gonna do? Let's do it. Let's do it. All right.
You ready?
You'll get to spend some time with Serah, and hopefully we can break those walls down and see that transformation and get you to the next stage. All right?
Let's go.
Love that. Serah, what is the best place for the audience to connect with you?
So you can check out my website if you would like. I'm actually doing a quiz right now. What's your profitable personal brand personality? That's at serahdelaine.com, SerahDlaine. And at the same time, I'm also very personable. I like to connect with people a little bit more intimately. So find me on LinkedIn, find me on Instagram, shoot me a DM.
Love that. Okay, LinkedIn.
In person.
Get in there.
You go. Relationship.
As you know, it's who you know. This show's all about relationships, connection. Who do you know that you think could make an impact in that chair?
That's a great question. I'm meeting a lot of people here. You put me on the spot. I've only been here like a year. But I've definitely been networking
They don't have
a
to
lot.
be here.
Oh,
They don't have to be here.
Yeah, they could
that's
be
a
anywhere.
good point.
Yeah, they could be remote. We'll pull them up on
Who's
the TV
God
right
crossed
there.
your pathway?
Yeah.
Made an
Come
impact.
across my pathway.
Well, I'll let you think
I'm
about
gonna
that.
think about that one.
Think about that.
Because I got some people in mind, but
Yeah,
Okay,
somebody that's what we like to call world changers, right? We like to bring people up here that are making an impact, shaking things up.
Yeah.
You're helping people transform,
yeah.
Just like
You're
you,
a world
just like
changer.
Amberly.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you're helping people transform. We need people like that.
Love it.
And we're always looking. So,
Love it.
all right?
I'll send you a list.
Love it. Guys, take your pictures right now. I want you to take your pictures, blow her up all over social media, tag her, and tell her what was something that you learned from today's episode.
Thanks for watching the Who You Know Job Networking Show. And a very special thank you to our co-host and guests for joining today's episode.